Hello students, welcome to the class. So in the previous class we have discussed till adding manure and fertilizers. We have seen what is the difference between manure and fertilizers, right? So the substances which are added to the soil in the form of nutrients to improve the production of the crops and fertility of the soil are called manure and fertilizers. Yes, natural is manure and artificially prepared is fertilizers. And we have discussed some part of irrigation, that is supply of water to the crops at appropriate intervals is called what? It is called irrigation. Yes, so irrigation, we have discussed some concepts on irrigation basically. So what we have discussed under irrigation? Here we have seen irrigation, right? So here we have discussed it is the process of supplying water to the crops artificially to fulfill their water requirements. Natural way of getting water is through rain, correct? So to fulfill the water requirements, artificially what we supply water, that is called irrigation. Yes, nutrients may also be provided to the crops through irrigation. So we have various sources of water for irrigation, like we have wells, we have ponds, we have lakes, we have canals, we have tube wells, even we have dams, right? So irrigation offers moisture required for the growth and development. Growth and development, even germination of the seeds, growth, development, germination, and other related functions. So it helps in all these things. Yes. So here we have types of irrigations. Under types of irrigations, there are different types of irrigations. In the last class, we have seen surface irrigation, we have seen where there is no irrigation pump involved. Water is distributed across the land by gravity. Simply we let in water. It will flow to the entire land. Then we have localized irrigation. Water is applied to each plant through a network of pipes under pressure. So surface, by gravity, we make water available for the entire land. Then localized, we use pumps at certain areas. Then we have sprinkler irrigation. Yes, we have sprinkler irrigation. Water is distributed from the central location by overhead high pressure sprinklers. Yes, they will be moving in a platform. Then we have drip irrigation, exactly near the roots. Exactly near the roots, we give water. Drops of water are delivered near the roots of the plants. Yes, it is rarely used as it requires more maintenance. This is rarely used method. Then we have so many other methods also. Yes, manual irrigation we have. So it is labor intensive and time consuming system. What is there done there? There water is, we use watering by people. Farmers do watering to the entire land. Under methods of irrigation, if you see, yes, we had not discussed this part. Methods of irrigation, if you discuss, under methods of irrigation, we have traditional methods, and we have modern methods. Traditional methods of irrigation. So here what is done is irrigation is done manually. Yes, into the pots water is being pulled, or farmer pulls out water from the wells, from the canals by himself, or using his cattle and carries it to the farming land. Yes, and that there he does watering to the entire land. Yes, so this method can vary in different regions. If there are wells available, they will use water from the wells. The farmers will use the water from the wells. If there are canals available, they will go and fetch water from the canals. So it varies. Or they can use, if the canal is very far from the field, then he will make use of the bullocks. So this is traditional method, which is done manually. So the main advantage of this method is what? The main advantage is it is cheap. You don't need to put any financial thing on it, because its efficiency is poor. The disadvantage is its efficiency is poor, because when you do manually, you cannot 100% say that I have given water uniformly to the entire field. Yes or no? Uniform distribution of water doesn't take place, and there occurs chances of water loss. Yes, the chances of water loss are very high. So some of the examples of traditional system are, the examples which include traditional system are, your pulley system you have. Pulley system, yes, through the wells, the water is being pulled. Lever system, yes, pipelines are being used from the ponds and we use it. Then chain pump system is there. Chain pump system. Yes, these are the most common traditional methods. Then what are modern methods of irrigation? The modern methods of irrigation, they compensate the disadvantages of traditional method. They compensate the disadvantages of the traditional methods, and they help in proper way of water usage. So they help in what? Proper way of water usage. Water usage. Okay. So modern methods include two things. One is sprinkler system and another one is what? Another one is drip irrigation. Yes, these are the two modern methods. Sprinkler system and drip irrigation. So sprinkler system, as the name suggests, sprinkler system. Yes. So sprinkler system, as its name suggests, sprinkles water over the crops and helps in even distribution, uniform distribution of water. Yes, distribution of water. So this method is much advisable in the areas facing scarcity of water. Okay, so here what is done is a pump is connected to the pipes which generates pressure and water is sprinkled through the nozzles of the pipe. And second method is what? Second method is a drip irrigation. So we have drip irrigation. What is done here, as we have discussed earlier, water supply is done drop by drop. So only drip irrigation. Drop by drop, that to where? Near the roots. Near the roots, exactly near the roots, using the hose or the pipe. Okay, this method can also be used in regions where water availability is less, but this method requires huge maintenance. Huge maintenance. Therefore, instead of drip irrigation, we go for sprinkler most of the times. Yes, it requires huge maintenance. So what is the importance of this irrigation as a whole? What is the importance of irrigation? Okay. So when we speak about the importance of irrigation, it can be explained like this. Just listen. Okay. So here, first point is insufficient and uncertain rainfall adversely affects irrigation. Yes. When rainfall is not proper, I call it as insufficient and uncertain. We don't know nowadays, because of the climatic changes, because of so many environmental pollutions, what is happening? We cannot expect rainfall at the right time. Earlier, the people used to say exactly this month, this rain is only going to come. But now it is very uncertain. Yes. So it adversely affects agriculture. Yes, very important. It affects the agriculture because crops are, they are expected to come on rains. Yes, on rains. That is the main important drawback, you can say. So in such cases, what happens is droughts and famines are caused due to low rainfall. Yes, droughts and famines are caused. So irrigation helps to increase productivity even in low rainfall. So irrigation, what it does, it helps to increase the productivity. The productivity even in low rainfall also. Even in low rainfall, it helps to increase the productivity. Is that right? Okay. Second point, the productivity or irrigated land is higher as compared to unirrigated land. So productivity of irrigated land is higher. If you look at the productivity, what product we get, what is the yield we obtain? The productivity of irrigated land, yes, irrigated land is higher. It is quite higher as compared to what? As compared to unirrigated land. Unirrigated land, because moisture content will increase, right? Unirrigated land. So this is the second importance. Third one is multiple cropping is not possible in India. See, multiple cropping. The reason is because the rainy season is specific in most of the regions. However, climate supports cultivation throughout the year. So irrigation facilities makes it possible to grow more than one crop in most of the areas of the country. Next, so multiple cropping can be done with the help of irrigation. Multiple cropping, growing more than one crops in a particular area. Then we have next point, that is irrigation has helped to bring most of the fallow land under cultivation. Dead land, fallow land under cultivation. Irrigation has helped to bring most of the fallow land under cultivation of the crops. Yes, not only that, irrigation has stabilized the output and yield levels. It has increased the output and yield levels. Yield levels, how much yield we used to get without irrigation, that is more with irrigation. Yes, then irrigation increases the availability of water supply, which in turn increases the income of the farmers. So irrigation should be optimum, because over irrigation can spoil crop production. So you cannot say it is so important, so I will do over irrigation. No. If you do over irrigation, what will happen? It will spoil the crop production. Excess water leads to what? Waterlogging, hinder the germination, increase salt concentration and uprooting, because roots cannot withstand standing in water. Therefore, proper methods should be used for better cultivation. For proper methods should be used. Yes, we must go for proper methods. So this is all about what? This is all about irrigation. Yes, it is all about irrigation. So moving to the next one, that is protection from weeds. See, weeds are what? If you observe, so let me read this out and then we will discuss about this. Weeds are the unwanted plants that grow along with the crops. Its removal is must for better growth of the crops. These can be controlled by spraying certain fertilizers, that is chemicals called weedicides like 2,4-D. Yes. So what are these weeds and how do we protect our land from the weeds? Okay, fine. So protection of land from weeds. Protection from weeds. So basically, what are weeds? Yes, what are these weeds? So weed in a field, many other undesirable plants may grow naturally. Yes. So in fields, many other, you can have a note of this also, undesirable plants. Undesirable plants means what? Unwanted plants may grow naturally. We have not used any seeds to grow them. They may grow naturally. Yes, they may grow naturally along with our crops. Along with the crops. Yes, and these undesirable plants, they are called what? And are called weeds. They are nothing but weeds. Yes, I cannot say weeds are always unwanted only. Undesirable means what? Our crop is something else is growing means that is undesirable only. So the undesirable plants which are growing naturally along with the crops are called weeds. The process of removal of weeds. Yes, you have to remove it. The process of removal of weeds is called what? It is called weeding. It is called weeding. Yes, it is called weeding, the process of removal of the weeds. And it is necessary. Yes, since weeds compete with the crops for water, nutrients, and space, and even light, affecting the growth of crops. So why weeding has to be done? It has to be done. It is necessary to do weeding. It's necessary because the weeds, they compete with the crops. See, crops, if weeds are removed, the crops will get all the nutrients from the soil, all water from the soil, required amount of water, proper light they will get. Yes, proper space they will get for growing. But if weeds are there, what will they do? They compete with our crops for all these things. For what? For water, you may say. They compete for nutrients. They compete for space. They compete for light. Yes or no? For all these things, they compete with our crops and therefore affect the growth of crops. Affect the growth of crops. Understanding? Affect the growth of crops. So some weeds interfere in harvesting and may be poisonous for animals as well as human beings. So some weeds may also be poisonous for the animals and the human beings. So farmers adopt different ways to remove the weeds and control their growth. Some of which are tilling before sowing of the crops. So you have to do tilling of the soil before sowing of the crops. What will happen is if you do tilling before sowing of seeds, tilling before sowing of seeds, you have to clean the field first, sowing of crops. What happens is if you do this, it will help in uprooting and killing of the weeds. Yes, when the weeds become uprooted, they will die naturally. Yes, they do not get mixed up. They will dry up and get mixed up with the soil. So the best time for the removal of the weeds is before they produce flowers and seeds. What is the best time? The best time to remove weeds is before they produce flowers and seeds. Because if they produce flowers and seeds, if you remove those flowers and seeds, may fall to the soil and again they may grow up in the form of weeds. Yes, so we have to do tilling. Yes, so what later the manual removal includes physical removal of the weeds by uprooting or cutting them to the ground from time to time. So manually, what we can do, the farmer, what he can do, he can cut the weeds up to the soil, or he can remove them with his own hands. Yes, so it is done with the help of khurpi. Yes, we use this. It is done with the help of khurpi. Yes, right. A seed drill is also used to uproot the weeds. Even we can use seed drill, which is used for tilling, preparation of the soil. We make use of seed drill, right? That also can be used to remove the weeds. Weeds are also controlled by using certain chemicals. So weeds are controlled. The growth of weeds are controlled by use of certain chemicals. By use of certain chemicals, which are called what? Weedicides. Weedicides. Yes, you can control the growth of these weeds by using certain chemical substances which are called weedicides. So how to use them? So these are sprayed in the fields to kill the weeds after being diluted with the water to the required extent and sprayed in the fields with the sprayer. Yes, they are sprayed in the fields by mixing it with water. Spraying of the weeds may affect the health of the farmers. So they should use these chemicals very carefully, and they have to always cover their nose and mouth with a piece of cloth during spraying of the chemicals. So in order to control these weeds, whatever weedicides are being used, they are very dangerous. Therefore, what the farmer has to do when he is spraying these, he has to dilute it with proper, proper amount of water, and then he has to spray. So while spraying, what he needs to do is he need to use proper masks which cover his nose and mouth. Yes, then he has to spray the weedicides to the entire farm. After proper weeding, after removing the weeds, then the next step is harvesting. So what is harvesting? The cutting of the crops after it is mature is called harvesting. The cutting of the crops after it is mature, it is called harvesting. So storage also is included here. So first let us discuss about harvesting, how harvesting and all is being done. So what do we mean by harvesting? Cutting of the crops. Harvesting. Cutting of the crops after it is mature is called harvesting. So in harvesting, what is done is the crops are pulled out and cut close to the ground, which usually takes 3 to 4 to mature. Harvesting is either done manually by using, say, sickle. You can use sickle to do the harvesting, or by machine. Yes, the machine used to do harvesting, it is called harvester. What it is called? It is called harvester. Yes, what is done here is we use certain method called threshing. Okay, what is threshing here? The process of grain seeds. The process of grain seeds being separated. Grain seeds being separated from the chaff. In a harvested crop. Harvested crop is called threshing. It is called threshing. Yes. So what is done? Once the plant becomes mature, once the crops become mature, harvesting is being done using sickle or harvester, and all the crops are being collected at one place. They have been stored, they have been placed at one place in the field itself. Then once that, see, that contains so much of plant parts, right? And here we have the grains, correct? We have the grains over here. So what is done by the method of threshing? What is threshing? The process of grain seeds being separated from the chaff in the harvested crops. What they do is they use such bundles of plants which contain our seeds, our crops, and they hit them to a certain hard block, say wooden trunk is being taken, and on that they go on hitting it. When they go on hitting it, the crops get separated, they fall here. Yes, and we have this plant feed which is used for animal feed, correct? So once these seeds get separated, the seeds, so this entire thing is called chaff. So these seeds, what they are associated with still so lighter impurities. So those seeds are associated with lighter impurities. So lighter impurities that is called chaff. It is being removed by a method called winnowing. It is removed by the method called winnowing. So what is winnowing? Farmers with small holdings of land do the separation of the grains and chaff by winnowing as well. So winnowing is how they will stand at a height. Yes, this is normal ground. They will use some stand and they will stand at a height, and they will take the crops in certain tray, and they will start against the wind. If the wind is blowing in one direction, against the wind, they will start throwing those crops to the ground. Since the chaff are lighter particles, they will fly off. So chaff being lighter particles, they will fly with the wind, and grains being heavier, they will settle here due to gravity. This method is called what? This method is called winnowing. It is called winnowing. Separation of grains from chaff. Separation of grains from chaff. From chaff. Yes. Here you can say stalk, from the stalk. This entire plant is called stalk. So when you hit, only grains come out, and the stalk is used as an animal feed. Yes. Apart from this, it is carried out with the help of machine called combine, which in fact a harvester as well as a thresher. Yes, the machine used here it is called combine. The machine itself is called combine. It has two things. It is a harvester as well as it is thresher. So it will harvest the plant crops and then it will thresh, separate the grains. And once the grains are separated, the chaff is separated by winnowing. If the farmer has small land holdings, and if he is having a large scale of the crops, then he will go for, again, he will use the, what you say, the machinery parts for winnowing also. There is a machine. If you insert the crops to it, all the chaff gets separated at one end and all the grains get separated at the other end. So grains get separated, chaff gets separated. So the period of harvest is a great joy and happiness in all the parts of India. Every farmer celebrates this harvesting. Every farmer celebrates this harvesting with a great joy. Yes, with great happiness, with a great enthusiasm, they celebrate. So much of yield they get at the time of harvesting, right? Special festivals also are associated with the harvesting season. Yes, you can just quote it out. The special festivals like Pongal. Yes, Pongal is associated, Sankranti you call, then Baisakhi you call it as. In different states, it is called with different name. Holi is also same thing. Then we have Diwali. Yes, this is the time when we get harvests. Yes, this is the time when we get harvests. Yes, so this is all about harvesting. Yes, and different modern techniques also we have seen, and we have seen the manual, traditional techniques also. Coming to storage. If crop grains are to be kept for a long time, they should be stay from the moisture and insects and rats. See, whatever you have done, preparing the soil you have done, proper seeds, so you have selected, you have sown the seeds, you have done irrigation, you have added manure and fertilizers, you have removed the weeds by the method of weeding, then you have harvested also, using harvester, using thresher, then you have winnowed, separated the grains, so you have purely grains now. When you have those grains have to be stored properly, because that is the effort of a year, correct or no? Yes, if those grains are not stored properly, then what is the use of harvesting those grains? So if the harvested grains are to be kept for a long time, they should be safe from what? They should be safe from moisture. They should be safe from moisture. Then they should be safe from insects. Especially they should be safe from rats, because huge loss of crops during the time of storage is due to rodents. It is due to rodents, mice, rats and all. Yes, even microorganisms. Yes, they should be safe from all these things. Correct. Therefore, harvested grains have more moisture. And if it is stored without drying, it will get spoiled or attacked by the moisture. So what here I am saying, harvested grains. The grains which are harvested grains have more moisture. Harvested grains, they have more moisture. And if it is stored without drying, what will happen? It will be spoiled. It will get spoiled. Yes, it will get spoiled, or it will get attacked by the organisms. Attacked by microorganisms. Correct? Organisms. So what is the use if it gets attacked or if it gets spoiled? Yes, therefore making them unfit for the use or for germination. Yes, sometimes I don't say that always the harvested grains are used for eating purpose only, right? We use the grains for again for next year. If we want to sow the seeds, we can use the same grains. So if these grains are not dried properly, if they are not stored properly, they are unfit for use, and even they are unfit for germination, for the next set germination, right? Hence, before storing the grains, so what has to be done? Before storing of the grains, they have to be properly dried. Yes, the grains are dried in sunlight. They are dried in hot sun. Yes, why they have dried in hot sun? In order to reduce the moisture. Yes, they are properly dried in the sun to reduce the moisture in them, which prevents the attack by insects, pests, bacteria, and fungi. So what farmers do is, farmers store the grains. Where do farmers store grains? The farmers, they store grains in gunny bags. They store grains in jute bags, gunny bags, jute bags you can call. Yes, jute bags. Or metallic bins. Yes, however, if the farmers are having a small scale, then they can store it in gunny bags. Hardly they require 10 to 15 gunny bags or metallic bins. But if it is on large scale storage of grains, where it is done? The large scale, very important students, large scale storage of grains. The large scale storage of grains is done in silos. It is done in silos and granaries. Yes, it is stored in silos or granaries to protect the grains from pests like rats and insects. And how they are stored? They are dried. The dried neem leaves are used for storing the food grains at home. At home, we farmers use what? They use dried neem leaves. Dried neem leaves. Yes, they use dried neem leaves to store the grains at home. Yes, for storing large quantity of grains, you cannot use the dried neem leaves. Usually they are stored in silos and granaries. So for storing the large quantities of the grains in big godowns, specific chemical treatments are required. So in big godowns, in large scale storage of grains, in large scale storage of grains, where you can call in silos or granaries, or you can call them godowns. Yes, godowns. What is done? A specific chemical treatment. Specific chemical treatment. Yes, is required. And why it is required? It is required to protect the grains from pests and microorganisms. To protect the grains from pests and microorganisms. Yes. So this is about the storage of the grains. Storage of the grains. Yes. Then humus. Humus is what? Humus is the top layer of the soil formed by decaying or decomposition of organic matter like animal remains, shed leaves, and the dung of the cattle. Okay. So what is humus? Humus is nothing but, yes, you can say humus can be simply defined as the fertile and important constituent of the soil. So what is the humus? It is the top layer of the soil formed from decaying or decomposition of the organic matter, like animal remains when animals die, or shed leaves, or dung cattle, right? So this is nothing but humus. So when we speak about humus, what all we can say about humus? Okay. So humus, okay. So humus is what? It is nothing but it is the fertile and important constituent of the soil. So when you look at the texture of humus, it is dark, okay. It is organic material. It is organic material, okay. Dark and organic material present where? Present on the top of the soil. Top of the soil. Yes, it is present on the top layer. So it is the top layer of the soil, which is very fertile. Yes. So this organic matter, it constitutes of what? What is organic matter made up of? It constitutes of dead and decaying. So I can say dead and decaying animal substance. Yes. Dead and decaying animal substance. Or it may be dried leaves which have fallen on the soil. Or it might be twigs which cut off and fall on the soil. It might be grasses, which might be vegetables. All this what? It constitutes humus. Yes. Or it might be microbes also. It might be microbes also. So it constitutes of humus. So humus are naturally obtained soil, which can be easily produced. See, this is humus present naturally. You can even produce it by a process called composting. By a process called composting, you can even produce humus. Okay. So it is also referred to as, what is humus also referred to as? It is also referred to as mineral soil. It is also referred to as mineral soil. Yes. Why it is referred to as mineral soil? Because it contains so many things. Organic material means what? Dead and decaying animal substance comes into it. Dried leaves come into it. Twigs come into it. Grasses, vegetables, microbes, so many things come into it. So it is naturally present, dark organic material. But you can also prepare it by the process called composting. So what is done in composting is some pit is being dug, and in that we throw all the waste material into this pit until it gets filled. It might be dried leaves, vegetable extracts, whatever is there, animal excreta. If the dead animal is there, that we throw it to it, and leave some microbes, some small microorganisms, right? After some days, what will happen? It will decay and decompose and form the humus. And that process is called what? It is called composting. And it is also referred to as mineral soil. Therefore, it is widely used by farmers and also gardeners to improve the plant yield. So why humus is used? To improve the plant yield. Yes, in order to improve the plant yield, humus is being used. The main importance of humus is, yes, what is the important part of humus? Yes, when we discuss about the importance of humus, it is, or you can say the significance of humus, it helps in, yes, it helps in the improvement of crop production. Yes, it helps in improvement of crop production. Yes, even it improves the fertility of soil. It improves the fertility of soil. Yes, then it increases the water content. It increases what? It increases the water content. It increases the water content of the soil. Yes, by rapid absorption. By rapid absorption. Yes, and also improves. It improves the soil workability. The soil workability. Yes, these are all the importance of humus. So what is humus? It is the dark organic material which is present on the top of the soil. Yes. So organic material means what? It is composed of dead and decaying animal substance. It is composed of dry leaves. It is composed of twigs. It is composed of gases, grasses and vegetables, even some of the microorganisms. Yes. Humus can be prepared, can be made by, or can be produced easily. Yes, I can say humus can be produced easily through a process called, what is the process called? Composting. Humus is also regarded as what? It is also regarded as mineral soil, thereby it improves the plant yield. So what is the significance of humus? Significance means what? Importance. Yes, the significance of humus is first point, very important. It helps in the improvement of crop production. Helps in the improvement of crop production. Second, it improves the fertility of the soil. Third point, it increases the water content by rapid absorption. Water content of the soil by rapid absorption. And last point, it also improves the soil workability. Also improves the soil workability. So this is humus. So humus should be present. What is the reason why humus should be present? Humus should be available. The reason is it will give all these importance to the soil. Once the soil becomes fertile, what happens? What happens is we can grow very good number of crops. Therefore, it is very important, correct? It is very important. Fine. Moving to the next concept, that is, yes, I'll show you here. I've made some pictures. You can see here. These are the traditional methods of irrigation. Yes, the first method, what you have seen, pulley system. What is being done? Here, the water is pulled from the well, and here it is being allowed to go to the field, entire field. You can see here the field. Yes. Then we have different methods, like here we have chain pump. You can see that water is being pulled through the pumps and it is being given to the entire field. Another one is dhekli. Yes, the water is what you say, divisions are being made into. So can you see here the divisions are being made here? So when you put water here, it passes through all the divisions and goes to the entire field. That is called dhekli. If you use the pump, we call it as chain pump, and this is moat, pulley system. Yes. Then we have here okay. So this is another method wherein rahat, lever system we call. The bullocks are being used to do this. Yes, the bullocks go on rotating and the water will go on continuing. From here you can see water comes and goes to the entire fields. Yes, so pumps are commonly used for lifting water. Diesel, biogas, electricity and solar energy is used to run these pumps. Okay, then we had seen modern methods. One is sprinkler system. You can see here the sprinkler system. What is there here? The water is drawn through the pump and here pipelines are being given and sprinklers are there. These things are all sprinklers. So water gets uniformly distributed to the entire field. Yes. So this system is more useful on the uneven land where sufficient water is not available. The perpendicular pipes having rotating nozzles on the top are joined to the main pipelines at regular intervals. When water is allowed to flow through the main pipe, what happens? Under pressure with the help of pump, It escapes from the rotating nozzles. It gets sprinkled on the crop as if it is raining, same like it is raining. So sprinklers are used for lawns. They are used for coffee plantations here and several other crops. And here we have one more, that is drip irrigation. That is drip system. So what is done in drip system? The water falls drop by drop directly near the roots. So it is called drip system. It is the best technique for watering fruit plants, gardens and trees. Water is not wasted at all. It is a boon in the regions where availability of water is poor. You can see here through this pipeline, the water is exactly given to the exactly near the roots, yes or no? So that is called what? That is called drip irrigation. And when the fertilizers are being sprayed, weedicides to kill the weeds, when the weedicides are being sprayed, see, the person is wearing the mask. Very important. He has to wear the mask when he's spraying, because the weedicides are highly poisonous. What will happen? They may enter through nose or mouth and cause what? And cause danger to the human life. So pests are the insects or rodents that destroy much of our crop yield. Thus, it is necessary to save it from pests. So important agricultural tools we have discussed. Plow is there. This is used for tilling the soil, adding fertilizers to the crops, removing the weeds, scrapping the soil. For all these things, we use this plow. And this implement, it is made up of wood drawn by a pair of bulls. So you can see here, this is called what? Plowshare, and this is called plow shaft. Plow shaft is made up of wood, whereas plowshare is made up of iron. Yes, then we have hoe. Yes, can you see this? This is hoe. It is used for removing the weeds and even for loosening of the soil. Yes, then cultivator. It is attached to the tractor. It is used for plowing. This is a modern technique, you can say. Okay, so use of cultivator saves the labor and also the time. So large amount of land gets loosened, or you can say prepared for the further sowing of the seeds. Traditional tools. The traditional tool for sowing of the seeds is shaped like funnel. I had explained you. Yes, do you remember this? We had discussed it. So there is funnel like something, and this funnel like, here you put the seeds. Yes, and then this is having edges here. So around 3 edges are there. So it is having like this. They get distributed there. And what happens? And they have sharp ends. So from this, the seeds go on flowing. And that is connected to the bull. Can you see here? It is connected to the bull. Correct? So what happens? Sometimes this is the traditional method of sowing. So what happens? Sometimes uneven sowing of the seeds take place. Therefore, we cannot go for this. We go for seed drill. Yes, so seed drill is used for sowing with the help of tractor. So here these sharp edges, what you are seeing, they contain seeds. So here grains are being put here, which get transferred to the entire this, and here the seeds get sown. Yes, so this tool shows the seeds uniformly at proper distance and at proper depth into the soil. Then sickle we have come across. It is used for manual harvesting. Yes, manual harvesting. Now food from animals. We get so much food from animals also. Like plants, the animals also provide us with different kinds of food, like fish, meat, and egg. Fumigation is the most effective method for checking the growth of insects by providing smoke or chemicals in gaseous state without affecting the grains. See, we spoke about fertilizers, using of fertilizers. So because when we have, what happens here is sometimes the insects, we cannot, what happens if you just directly spray the fertilizers, there might be, the grains get affected. So during fumigation, what we do is we just go on providing smoke to the entire field, or chemicals are given in the gaseous state. So what happens for checking up of the insects, growth of insects, we do this method by providing smoke to the entire field, or chemicals in the gaseous state are being given to the entire field. That will not affect the grains at all. That will not affect the grains. Yes. So this is called fumigation. Yes, it is called fumigation. So this is what we have discussed. Here we have something called animal husbandry. So what do we mean by animal husbandry? Yes. So here it says, when animals reared at home or on a farm have to be provided with proper food, shelter, and care. When this is done on a large scale, it is called animal husbandry. So this is the last part of this topic what we are going to discuss. So let us see what do we mean by animal husbandry. Okay. So we'll take it here. Animal husbandry. And we have some types also. We'll discuss that also. Animal husbandry. Okay. So see, we for a habit we rear dogs at home, cats at home. That is not. It is just having a pet. Usually, in the villages, they rear buffalo and cow. For what reason? They will get milk out of it. Yes, this is on a small scale. But when you rear the animals on a large scale to meet the demands of the place, then we call it as animal husbandry. So it is also a branch of agriculture. So what is animal husbandry? It is branch of agriculture. Yes, I can call it as branch of agriculture. Yes, where animals are reared, bred, they have been provided with food and raised. For what all reasons? Raised for either it is for meat or for fiber or for eggs or for milk or some other food products. Other food products. Understanding? So this is called animal husbandry on a large scale. So animal husbandry is nothing but a branch of agriculture where the animals are reared, they are bred and they are raised. So animal husbandry refers to what? It refers to the livestock raising. What it refers to? The livestock raising. Yes, you are raising the livestock there. Yes, it might be cattle, it might be cock or hen. Yes. So and selective breeding is being done. Livestock raising and selective breeding. Selective breeding. Yes. So it is the management and care of animals in which genetic qualities and behavior of the animals are further developed. Why they are developed? For the profit of the human beings only. To have financial earnings from animals, what measures are being taken is under animal husbandry. So a large number of farmers, they depend on animal husbandry for their livelihood. So animal husbandry, you can say it is a side business for the farmers. So animals provide what? Animals provide us with a variety of food products which have high nutritional values, right? They therefore require a lot of care and attention. Yes, some animals provide us meat like goat and hen. Some animals provide us fiber like wool. It is being obtained from sheep. Some animals provide us egg, that is our chickens. Then some animals, so many animals provide us milk. It is goat milk, buffalo milk, cow milk, and other food products are also obtained, right? Therefore, a lot of care and what you say attention is required for the animals. And that is done where? That is done in animal husbandry. So animals are bred commercially in order to meet the high demand for the food. So dairy products you can come across. Dairy products. Yes, all milk products are said to be dairy products. Yes or no? So dairy products from animals like cows. We get dairy products from which animals? We get it from cows. We get it from buffaloes. We get it from goats. Yes or no? From these animals. They are rich in what? These dairy products, they are rich sources of what? They are rich sources of proteins. Yes or no? So they are very rich sources of proteins. Therefore, these animals, do you know what they are called? These animals, since they are very rich sources of proteins, these animals are called as milch animals. They are called what? Milch animals. Why they are called as milch animals? As they provide us with milk. As these animals provide us with milk. Provide us with milk. Milk. They are called milch animals. They are called milch animals. We have another set of animals. Yes, we have another set of animals which provide us nutrient-rich food. So another set of animals which provide us nutrient-rich food. Yes, they provide us nutrient-rich food. What are those animals? Those animals are nothing but hens. Then we have ducks. Then we have goose. yes, etc. These animals provide us nutrient rich food. What is that nutrient rich food they provide? They provide us with eggs. They provide us with, which are again rich sources of what? They are again rich sources of proteins, correct? They are again rich sources of proteins. Is that right? Yes. So these animals, then further animals like chicken. Then chicken you have duck, you have ox, you have goat, you have pigs. These provide us with what? They provide us with, they are bred for what reason? They are bred for meat. Yes, they are bred for meat. And you know, meat is very rich in nutrient value. Yes, fats, proteins, vitamins, and minerals. Yes, so we have all the sources of nutrients as well. They are what? So other than domestic animals, we have other sources of nutrients as well. They are what? Marine animals. That is what? Fishes, marine animals, crabs. Yes or no? They all come under marine animals. Or I can call them, I get seafood from them. So seafood we eat has high nutrient values. They are rich sources of nutrients like fats, proteins, vitamins. Yes, proteins, vitamins, and even minerals. Yes, so the care, the breeding, the management, etc. So what all I'm saying, the care of the animals, the breeding of the animals, different breeds we get, then management of the animals, then breeding of the animals. Breeding means what? Providing them with the food. Yes, are particularly they are monitored under the department called animal husbandry. Yes, they are monitored under the Department of Animal Husbandry. Yes, yes or no? So animal husbandry is a large scale business. It is a large scale business, and most of our farmers are dependent on this for their financial profits. The animals are bred, they are cared, they are reared, they are sheltered in a farm or a region which is specially built for them. Yes, you cannot place them anywhere. Yes, there is a special place for them where they are being bred, they are cared, everything is being done there. And this animal husbandry involves what? It involves poultry for chicken and all. It involves milk farms. We have so many milk farms. Yes. Then we have apiculture. Have you come across this term, apiculture? Apiculture is nothing but bee, honey, what we get. Bee culture is called apiculture. And then we have aquaculture. Aquaculture is what? Culturing the aquatic animals. Yes. So if you talk about the detailed view of animal husbandry, we can discuss about the types of animal husbandry. Yes. What are the types of animal husbandry? See, we have various types of animal husbandry. The first one is called dairy farming. What it is called? Dairy farming. So what is done in dairy farming is, yes, what is done in dairy farming is, it is the agricultural technique which is concerned with dairy means what? Long-term production of milk, which is then processed to obtain dairy products. Yes, long-term production of milk is done, and then processing. Yes, production of milk, you can say, production of milk and processing to obtain dairy products. And what are these dairy products? Dairy products are nothing but what? They are milk products, which include your cheese, your butter, ghee it might be, then it might be cream, then it might be paneer. Yes, what all things we eat. So many things are the dairy products. Yes, and it involves management of dairy animals. So dairy farming has got dairy animals. Which are those dairy animals? It is cows, buffaloes, sheep, and goat. So animals are taken care against the diseases and are inspected regularly by veterinary doctors here. Okay, so these animals are milked by hand or by machines. You can either use traditional method is milking by using hands. Yes, the farmers use their hands to take out milk. And modern methods is there are machines for milking also. Yes, the milk is preserved and converted into dairy products industrially, which are then used for different purposes. This is first one. The second type is poultry farming. Yes, poultry farming. Now, what is this poultry farming? Poultry farming is concerned with raising and breeding of birds for commercial purposes. So, raising and breeding of birds. Not all the birds I'm speaking about. Birds means what? Ducks, chickens, geese, pigeons, turkeys and all. They are domesticated for eggs as well as for meat. So it is very important to take care of the animals and maintain them in a disease-free environment to obtain healthy food from them. If you want healthy food from them, you have to maintain a very, very clean environment for these animals. Okay. The fecus of birds are used as a manure to improve the soil fertility. Feces of the birds, the waste material of the birds, it is also used as manure. The eggs and meats are rich sources of proteins. Yes. So poultry farming provides employment to large number of people and help in improving the economy of the farmers. Okay. The third type is fish farming. Fish farming. Yes, when I speak about fish farming is what? It is the process of raising fish in a closed tanks for the commercial purpose. There is an increasing demand. So raising of fishes is called fish farming in closed ponds. In closed ponds, which are artificially made ponds. Okay. So fish species such as salmon, catfish, cod, and tilapia are raised in the fish farms. It's in fish farming. You have fish farming is also called pisciculture. Pisces stands for fish. So it is also called pisciculture, fish farming. Here we have extensive aquaculture. It is of two types. Extensive aquaculture and another one is intensive aquaculture. Yes. So extensive aquaculture, it is based on local photosynthetic production. And intensive aquaculture, it is based on external food supply. So here normal photosynthesis, if you carry out and do normal natural process is extensive. Intensive means you give outside food for during the culturing of the fishes. Yes. So this is about fish farming. One more very important one is bee farming. Bee farming is also called what? It is also called apiculture. It is also called apiculture. So bee farming or apiculture, it is the practice of maintaining bee colonies by humans in man-made hives. So honeybees are reared on a large scale. For what reason? For honey wax. Honey is so much important for our health, right? For honey wax and also to pollinate the flowers, because bees are major things which pollinate the flowers and help in pollination process. Yes, help in reproduction of the flowers. They are also used by other beekeepers for the same purpose. And the place where, yes, the place where bees are kept in is known as apiary. Yes, you can call it as apiary or you can call it as bee yard. Yes, you can call it as apiary or bee yard. So what is the role of animal husbandry in human life? We get so many dairy products, from cows, goats and sheep. What we get? We get dairy products, milk. What are the dairy products? Dairy products include milk products like yogurt, cheese, butter, then so many things, paneer, all we get. Second thing, we get meat. Yes, animals such as cows, buffaloes, pigs and goats are reared for their meat, and meat is a rich source of dietary protein, right? Even land management can be done. Yes, land management. For land management, animal husbandry plays a very important role in human life. Yes, so livestock is sometimes grazed to control the growth of weeds on the agricultural land. So they will eat all the weeds, and therefore weeds are being removed from the particular area. So it reduces the risk of fire and all. Yes, then it is also a source of fiber. Animals also produce fibers and textiles such as wool and leather. Sheep is being reared for what? Especially sheep is reared for wool and leather. So sheep is reared for wool and leather is obtained from, do you know which animal? Leather is obtained from camel. They are reared for it. Even we get manure. The excreta, the bones, the blood of the animals, it is used as what? It is used as manure. The manure is spread on the fields to increase the crop yield and crop production. It is also used as fuel for fires and as plaster for walls and floors. Manure has so much of use. Yes, so increase the crop production, increase crop yield and what? Increases the crop yield and crop production. First point. Then it is also used as fuels for fires. Yes, if you want fire, you can use that manure, dried manure, as fuel. It is also used as a plaster in all the villages, plaster for walls and floors. Manure is being used. Yes, so this is all the uses. Labor. Animals are source of non-human labor. They are used for ploughing. So labor is also important. We use cows, ox and all for ploughing. They are used for transporting goods, military functions and all. So horses, yaks and donkeys are used for this purpose. So what are the advantages of this animal husbandry? Animal husbandry helps in the proper management of animals by providing proper food, shelter and protection against diseases to the domestic animals. So what are the advantages? Very important. Yes, advantages. So what are the advantages? First one, it helps in what? It helps in proper management. Proper management of animals. By providing what? By providing proper management of the animals by providing proper food, shelter, then protection against diseases, correct? Protection against diseases to the domestic animals, right? Second, it provides employment to large scale human beings, right? It provides employment to a large number of farmers, and thereby increases their living standards. Yes, it helps in developing high yield of breeds of animals. Very important. It helps in developing high yielding breeds of animals. When you crossbreed breeds of animals by how? By crossbreeding. Yes, by crossbreeding. Yes or no? So this increases what? When you crossbreed, you get dairy, Jersey cows we get. They are not normal breeds, they are crossbreeds. So they will provide high amount of increase the production of milk. Yes. So what helps in crossbreeding? When you do crossbreeding, it increases the production of various products. Like it might be milk, it might be eggs, it might be meat. Yes. Then it involves proper disposal. It involves proper disposal of animal waste. Yes or no? Of animal waste, which is used as manure actually. Animal waste. And promotes a healthy atmosphere. Promotes a healthy environment. Yes, these are all what? These are all the advantages of animal husbandry. Yes, so we have seen animal husbandry here. What is animal husbandry we have seen? Yes, then in that we have seen the types: dairy farming, poultry farming, fish farming, which is called pisciculture, bee farming, which is called apiculture, and where bees are kept, it is called apiary or bee yard. Then we have seen what are the role of animal husbandry in human life. Then we have discussed about the advantages. So this is all about this topic. Hope you have followed about everything what I've explained in crop production and management, whether it is different steps which are involved or different tools what we are making use of, or it is different practices what we have come across, or it is about the animal husbandry. Yes, so granaries we have seen. Harvested grains usually are stored in huge stores after they are properly dried in the sunlight, and they are called granaries. And here we have seen all these terms. So we know what are rabi crops, we know what are kharif crops, we know what are zaid crops. Rabi crops in winter and kharif crops in rainy and zaid crops in summer. Yes. Then silo, we have seen they are stored in silos and they are stored in what you say granaries. Showing all the points we have discussed. Yes. So this is all about this topic. Hope you have understood the concepts. Thank you.